Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everyone, it is Brian Kaz here, joined by my friend and business partner, Sean Casey. We're gonna get this going in about 30 seconds right here. Just need to show my screen. All right. So if you can hear my voice and you see my screen, just say a quick yes in the chat box there. All right, lots of yeses. That's all good right there. All right, so pretty interesting call we have for you today. If you've been with us for a long time, you may or may not recall over a year ago we had another call like this, and one prior to that, like a year or two prior to that, where we basically analyzed tons and tons and tons of sites of your guys and also your competitors that we have in the system of WebFire. So if you used the rank tracker tool in WebFire, which a lot of you don't, but I'd encourage you to do so, it can basically track your rankings and all that. And what we do is we can analyze and look at, hey, what's making your site rank, what's maybe not helping as much, and we can also search all those competitors. So there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of sites on top of many times more of your competitors, because obviously for every site you have, there's tons and tons and tons of competitors trying to rank for those same keywords and such. And about once a year or so, we basically analyze all the data and compile it all and see if we can spot any new trends or stuff like that in terms of what Google looks at or what they appear to be paying more attention to in terms of rankings. And we got some pretty interesting info. So what I'm going to do on this call is I'm going to first basically talk through some key points or some key takeaways from the data that I looked at, and then I'm going to actually show you a lot of the data live. So it's not all the data, but a good amount of the data that we checked. We have on a page that I have access to that I'll show off and share with you and kind of like explain and essentially interpret what that all means and what you can do with all that data to take action and hopefully help your sites and or your client sites rank. So pretty cool call. And then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A as well. So if you have any questions related to this or anything related to marketing or SEO or anything like that at all, feel free to ask, and we'll either get you answered during the call itself, or towards the very end of the call. We'll have lots of time to basically answer you live as well there. So we'll either answer you in the actual chat or live towards the end of the presentation here. And then after all that, you'll have a chance to win some money. And we'll give some instructions on how to do that in just a bit. So without further ado, we'll get this show on the road, where once again, this is analyzing tons of sites' SEO data to reveal what works today. And once again, my name is Brian Kaz, and I'm also joined by Sean Casey. So as you probably know, we have these calls every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is right about now. So make sure to stop by every Wednesday then. If you're here or you're registered for this series, you'll get a reminder each week, so don't forget. But if you can't make one, we'll have the recordings in the members area within a day of any of the calls under the training tab on the left side navigation bar. So you'd click on the training, then you click on the Wednesday calls, and then you'll see all of them listed right there with the most recent ones at the very top. This one you'll see either later today or by tomorrow at the latest. You'll see it at the very top. You can also search through that. There's a search tab, so you can search for like SEO or affiliate or marketing or whatever topic is of interest to you. You can see a bunch of calls that we've done on that. So it's not like you have to go through hundreds of calls to get the info that you want. So make sure to take advantage of that, because there's a lot of stuff that you guys are oftentimes looking for more info on that we actually already covered extensively on one of the calls. And on the vast majority of the calls, we not only have the recordings available, we also have a PDF of the slides available too, if you just want to kind of browse through those, because it can sometimes be faster to browse those, even though we have a lot more info when we're actually talking. The only ones that don't have the slides available is if we do like live website analyses or stuff like that, where it's all done live, so there wouldn't really be any point to have slides. So keep that in mind. And if you want a chance to win $100 today, make sure to join our free Facebook group right here, which you can get to by going to the link you see right there, getwebfire.com/FB group. So just click the join button. It is completely free. If you're not already a member of that free group, just click, go to the link right now, click join, and Sharon, who's on this call too to help out, she'll probably approve of you within like a minute or two or so if you do so now. And then towards the end of this call, we'll give you instructions on what you can do there to have a chance to win $100 live that will actually give away live at the end of the call. But you have to make sure you're a member of that free group right there. So now we can move on to the training for this week where we'll reveal the data from our big data analysis. And I'll not only go through the main bits that we found, but also go through a lot of stuff live where I'll be showing the data and stuff to you live. So the overview for today, first, I'll basically talk about the big data takeaways. Then I'll show the live stats. Then we'll have the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll have plenty of time for that left over on this call. So feel free to get your questions ready. And then we'll give some cash away. So moving on to the big data SEO key points. So out of all the data, again, we looked at tons and tons and tons and tons of sites. We analyzed it all. We had our server working for, gosh, I think this actually took several days to actually for the servers to compile all the data because there was a ton of data. And here's just a few things right off the bat. Then I'll get on to the more exciting parts, which is the live data and my analysis of that. So first of all, the median, not the average number of backlinks, are a great indicator of rankings. Now, I know there's always a couple of you that don't know what a backlink is. So before anyone asks, a backlink is basically any link that links to your website or to your video or to whatever you have. So there's multiple ways you can get these backlinks. Sometimes it's other sites will link to you, which is always great. Other times you can have like a video or like an article that just links back to your blog or your site or whatever it might be, so you can get backlinks yourself. Other times it might just be you have forum posts or Q&A replies or stuff like that where you link back to your site or your video. All those can help right there. And for those of you that are asking, well, what is the difference between the median and the average? The average amount of backlinks is what a lot of other people look at, but the problem with that is that if you have like one or two sites that have like, let's say like tens of thousands of backlinks, it skews everything up. Whereas what the median does is say, hey, what's like kind of like, even though there might be one or two sites on page one that have 10,000 backlinks, if the rest of the sites are like, 0 to 10 backlinks, the median might be like somewhere maybe in like, in that example I just gave, which is made up, might be like 5 to 8 or so. So it's much more easy to look at what the median amount of backlinks are right there. And you'll see in the data that I'll show off in just a bit, you'll see an actual trend where the less backlinks, the further back they tend to go in the rankings. And you'll see like a very obvious trend both with your ranked sites and also with the competitors' ones. The other thing which I thought was really interesting, this is a key point because it goes actually against what a lot of people think. Too much keyword density can actually hurt your rankings. And what that means is if the main keyword you're trying to target is, let's say your main keyword is buy mopeds online. Okay, what keyword density is, it's how often that keyword shows up on your web page. So usually, you want to have it there. Like if you're trying to rank for a term, you want to have it, usually in the title. You want to have it, usually at least like once somewhere in the body. But what a lot of people do when they try to kind of, you know, they try to trick Google into ranking them, and they oftentimes think, oh man, if I just reuse this term over and over and over and over again, I'll have like really high keyword density, and that's all great. And they'll say stuff like, if you want to buy mopeds online, check no further. The best place to buy mopeds online is here. The best place, and they use that term over and over and over and over and over again, where the keyword density, which is the number of times they use that word compared to other words, is relatively high. And that can actually hurt because Google, especially now, they're smart enough to know what reads well and what does not. And I know naturally a lot of you are saying, well, what's a good keyword density to shoot for? Don't overthink that, but I'd say like, my rule of thumb is, have it in the title and have it probably, at least once in the main body or the main content of what you're trying to rank, but have it flow naturally. Like, don't use the term so much where it doesn't read well, where like, if you were basically talking to a friend or anyone, if it sounds weird and you're saying the same term over and over and over and over again, it's going to sound weird. You're going to look weird. You wouldn't talk like that to a friend or to anyone. Don't talk like that online then. Don't basically talk like that on your site. But you'll see, like, if you start to, if you can get around 1%, that's not bad. You don't have to be like, you don't want it to be 0 where you never mention it at all. That hurts you. But if you're like, like 0.7 to like, 1 point something or other, that's pretty decent. If you're like, up there, like, probably well over 1.5%, especially for over like 2 or 3%, like, it'd be insane to have like 5%. You're just hurting yourself a lot right there. Another thing that's key here, and now that's a very awesome point, because again, a lot of people oftentimes think it's the opposite. Another thing is that keywords and titles, or basically title tags, are super important, and I can't emphasize that enough. But another one that's often missed by a lot of you is the keywords in the description are also super important and oftentimes missed. In fact, the vast majority of your sites that we actually track are missing the keywords in their description that you're trying to rank for. Even though we make it super easy to add those words into the description, a lot of you aren't doing so. So that's something that you guys should look at and fix. Another important thing, which is actually I'll recheck the data in a second when we get to it, but I think it's actually been slightly more relevant now versus a year ago. Not too much more, but slightly more. Having the keywords in the URLs are important. What I mean by that is, you don't have to have an exact match domain. Like if your keyword is buy mopeds online, you don't have to have buymopedsonline.com. I mean, it's great if you do, sure, that could help, but it could be like, mopeds.com / buy mopeds online, or some term like that. The SEO tools that we have within Webfire, like the WordPress one and the HTML one, all that stuff can help kind of do a lot of the stuff for you right there. So to take advantage of that, but having the keywords somewhere in the URL seems to be a very big thing in terms of getting ranked. And last but not least, things like the image alt tags and all that seem to make a difference, where there's definitely like a correlation, but not as important as the other stuff mentioned. So what we'll do right now is I'm just going to pause my screen for a second right here, as I'll show off some of the live stats that we have that we compiled over the last several days. Just gonna bring that up here. All right. All right, and first I see there's already a person asking where can they add their site to basically track the rankings and all that. So what you'd want to do inside of WebFire, you'd go to the SEO and keyword tools right here. So you'd go to the tab right here, and it's right down here where it says rank. So you basically add your site in there and the keywords that you want to check for your rankings and stuff. And you also can add where you want it to check the rankings from. Like if you want to see what the rankings look like from the US or Australia or the UK or wherever you want, you can do that all right there. So now a lot of you don't take advantage of that. But what we do in our analysis, we look at not only those of you that have added your sites into the rank tracker, but we also look at all the competition for those sites too. So tons and tons and tons and tons and tons more. And we kind of show you a difference in the data and what's what there. And we also have, again, the last time that we compiled a lot of, a lot of the data was, I think about like a year and a half back. And I have a lot of that right here and the new stuff right here. And one of the interesting things are year and a half back, there was a lot less sites would be on page 2 and page 3 a year and a half back, whereas now it seems like it's easier to get to page 2 and 3 now versus what it was a year ago, like a lot easier by a factor of probably like actually the stats that we have say it's actually about 20 times easier to get to page 2 and 3 now than what it was a year ago. Of course, the downside with that is page 2 and 3 doesn't really matter. But it looks like if you do the basic SEO stuff, it's pretty hard not to get ranked somewhere. But the good news is getting to page 1, a lot of the stuff from last year still applies here and is still, actually true. And it's not that hard to do as long as you follow all the advice given and all that. Now, before I dive into the stats here, I want to explain a few things. First and foremost, all the stats here, they're best applied if you apply it towards keywords that you have a chance of ranking for. If you have the best optimized site in the world for a keyword like weight loss or a keyword like, diet or something along those lines, they're very competitive. So even if you have a very optimized site, you won't necessarily rank. Whereas for like medium to like kind of easier keywords, if you follow the advice and do the stuff here, you'll have a very, 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 very good chance of ranking, even ones that get a lot of traffic. So what we did right here in the stats, just to explain it, we broke it up into a handful of different things. We have the competition stats, which are basically sites that are competing with your guys' sites on page 1. And then we have the page 1 stats from our members that have added their site to the ranked tracker. And then we have page 2 and 3 stats. And then we have ones that are not ranked, and we have stats on those. So we can kind of see the trends in all these. So both the first batch and the second batch right here are page 1. One is just your sites versus the competition, where there's obviously a lot more sites in the competition. Now, one thing to point out is on page 1, in both the cases, a fairly high percentage of the sites that are ranked have the main keyword in their title tag. The competition, so the rest of the sites out there, seem to do a slightly better job of making sure that the keyword is in their title tag. So 84% of sites competing with yours, or basically the average site out there online that is on page 1, 84% tend to have the keyword in their title, whereas only about 75% percent of the sites that you track have that, but that's still quite high. So that's obviously a very good indicator that if you have the keyword in your title, you have a good chance of ranking. The other thing here is that if you have the keyword in your description, that can help too. About 2/3 of the average sites out there have the keyword that they're trying to rank for in their description, whereas for you guys, it's a bit over 40%. So that's the one area that I think a lot of you guys could improve on, is adding your keyword that you're trying to rank for in your description tags. So it looks like a lot of you are missing that. The other thing that's really interesting too, we also looked at right here, a lot of you, a huge amount of you, have at least a partial keyword match in your title tag, which is pretty good. So Google has gotten smarter and smarter over all these years, where, if you type in a keyword term, okay, there's probably dozens and dozens and dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of other terms that are fairly close, but might not be spot on. So it's very important to have at least the majority of the keyword you're trying to rank for in the title, even if it's not an exact match, which you can see here, 84% of page 1 rankings on your sites that are tracked here have at least a good amount of the keyword you're trying to rank for in the title tag. So that's why they're ranked right there. And also, as far as right here, you can see the majority of sites on page 1 have the keyword that they're trying to rank for somewhere in their URL. So somewhere in your main website link right there. You'll also see down here, this is where it gets real interesting too. On page 1, your site's about half of you use the keywords in your H tags, which are kind of like headers almost, and only about 1/3 have the keywords in your image alt tags. But here's where it gets interesting. If we look at page 1 versus page 2 and 3 versus not ranked, here's where we get some info that basically pops out big time. So right here, we have slightly less that are on page 2 and 3 have their keywords somewhere in the title. So there's a bit less right there. And there's even less that have the keyword in the URL. But here's where there's a major difference. So of your sites that are on page 1, 41% of you have the keyword somewhere in the description. Yet the guys that are only ranked on page 2 and 3, only 18% of you have the keyword somewhere in your description. So that's one of the big things that we've seen from this year compared to prior years and stuff, is that the description tags seem to be a decent indicator as well. Obviously, the title tag is more important, but having the keyword in the description tag is a big thing. And you see that, this is, again, well less than, the sites are on page 2 and 3, less than half of them have that word in the description right there. The other thing that you'll see is that there's a pretty big drop when you look at the median backlinks. The median backlinks of your sites on page 1 is 9, but the median backlinks on page 2 and 3 is 6. So you have 50% more backlinks on ones that are ranked on page 1. Now that seems like a lot to say 50% more until you're really basically talking about 9 links versus 6. Okay, so it's not like you have to have hundreds of backlinks or anything like that. But just having just a few more can make a difference, it seems, right there. You'll also see that when you use our website analysis tool, the higher your score, the more likely you are to be on page 1. Like the page 1 up here, the average score is 86.8, whereas sites are on page 2 and 3 are 72.7. So they still are somewhat optimized, but clearly, if it's 80% on up, you have a better shot at being on page 1 right there. And if you look at sites that are not ranked, you see a major drop off with a lot of stuff. Like you see less than half have the keyword in their title, less than 1/3 have even the partial keywords somewhere in their title, which is huge, because that basically says that, like, if we look up here, guys that are on, page 1 and 2 for partial keyword matches, meaning at least like most of the keyword that someone searches for is in the title, 84% have basically a partial match on page 1, 79% have a partial match on page 2 and 3. Ones that are not ranked, 31%. So a massive drop. I mean, about like a third of what the others had is what's in there. So definitely work on having good keywords in your titles and all that. Same with keywords in the description. There's a massive drop from ones that are on page 1. Same with ones in H tag and image alt tags. There's a massive drop of, you see there's only 18% of the keywords that aren't ranked are in the H tags. Less than 10% of the sites that aren't ranked have the keywords in their alt tags, and this all makes a difference. The other important thing is the median amount of backlinks is 2. So sites that are not ranked, basically, on average, they have a chunk less backlinks than sites that are on page 1 and sites that are on page 2 and 3. So you can see a pretty obvious trend in terms of what helps. So again, the takeaway.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Can you, because people are asking about median backlinks, can you explain like the difference between most backlinks, which you did earlier, median and average? Because there's a big difference between median and average, obviously.
All right. So essentially the average amount of backlinks means if you add up all the backlinks that all the organic sites on page 1 have, what is the average? So if there's 10 sites and they can range from 0 backlinks to 10,000. You add up all the backlinks, and then you divide by however many sites there were, like 10 or 12 on page 1, and that would be the average amount. But the problem with that is if you use the average amount, some large sites like YouTube or some big news sites might have like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, in some cases millions of backlinks, where if every other site, if like 9 out of 10 sites have 0 backlinks and one site has 1 million, the average amount of backlinks would be 100,000 backlinks, which doesn't give a good feel for how many backlinks you need, because really, in the example I gave, 9 out of 10 of the sites had 0. So if you have 1 or 2, you would have a pretty good chance of ranking on page 1. Whereas what median means is kind of like what the middle site has. So like if there's one site that has 100,000 backlinks, a few sites that have 1, and then there's like a site or 2 that have 2, and then there's like a couple sites that have 4. If you have like essentially like a bell curve, the median one would be the one in the middle. So if you have like 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, 5, 100,000, the median one would be the one in the middle, which is the site that has the 2 backlinks. So yeah, you don't have to worry too much about that, because you can get a lot of the data off our analysis tool and stuff like that, but don't base it on the average, base it more on the median. But the rule of thumb that you're seeing right here on that is, on page 1, the median amount of backlinks is only 9. That's not I mean, you can make a couple of videos, you can do some blog posts, you can have a guest blog post, you can do some forum posts. There's a lot of ways to get some extra backlinks there. 9 isn't all that high. And that's, that's not saying you have to have 9. That's just saying what the median amount is right there. The other thing I thought was really interesting, and you'll see here too that the website analysis optimization score is significantly less on sites that aren't ranked versus ones that are. The other thing that I found really interesting is if you look at the average density, which is the keyword density, or how many times the keyword you're trying to rank for is mentioned on the page, it does the opposite of what a lot of people think. So on your sites on page 1, the average density is about 1.05, so about 1%. On sites that are on page 2 and 3, it goes up a bit to 1.25%. On sites that aren't ranked, it goes up to 1.53%. And what that basically tells you is that a lot of the sites that aren't ranked, they might be trying to like artificially inflate the number of times the keyword they're trying to rank for shows up in their content. And most likely what is happening is Google is seeing that and saying, well, this site doesn't really read well. Like they use the term buy mopeds online like 4 or 5 times. That doesn't read well. It looks weird. It increases your keyword density, but it looks like they're almost basically penalizing you if you don't have it read normal. So I say rule of thumb, have it read normal. But at the same time, it's also significant to note that 1% or 1.05% for the keyword density. A lot of people might say, oh, that's really low, but that's actually what we recommend. Like, is around 1% or so is fine. Now, if it's like a really long page, it could be a lot less than 1%. So that's just like, roughly. But I say use it once in the title and maybe like at least once somewhere in the content, and you should be fine. And you should probably, in a lot of cases, be right around 1% then. So it's important to note that most of these sites at least mention the keyword that they're trying to rank for, whereas a lot of people oftentimes try to rank for stuff that they never even mention. So it's kind of neat to see right there. And what's really interesting to see too is that with all the stuff right here, we see that the trends have mostly stayed the same over time. It's just that there's a few minor things that have changed. So if we look at the stats from over a year and a half back, we see, again, so we'll just go basically back and forth. In all cases, about 84 to 85% or so have the keyword in their title. So that's saying, hey, the algorithms haven't really changed a ton there. In the description, about the same. URL, a tinge more now, so they're slightly more likely to look in that. But you've also seen a pretty decent jump in the number of backlinks needed for the average competitor out there. But when you look at your own sites, it's actually not too far off. So it's actually, in this case, right now you only need about 9 backlinks to, be among most sites there. Whereas a year and a half ago, for your sites, it was actually about 14. So it's actually a little easier now. You don't have to get as many backlinks. And that tells me that Google is moving a little bit away from just looking at the number of backlinks. So they're, probably looking more so at the quality, of the backlinks, and also at the quality of how optimized your pages. And more importantly, they're actually reading, what's on your site. They're reading things like, do the keywords you use in the content, does that flow well? Does it read well? It's been known that they've been doing that for a while, and you kind of see that in the stats and stuff here as well. But you see right here, the average keyword density almost about the same. Back then it was 0.9, now it's 1.05. So that's all about the same right there. And you'll also see too, this is something that I also talked about in the past too, way back when, from a year and a half back, which means when we got the data a year and a half back, it basically analyzed the data for like a long time. So a lot of this might be like 2.5 years ago, you'd see like the changes here. Back then, if you had like on page 1, the vast majority, 96.2% of sites that were ranked on page 1 had at least most of the keyword in their title, whereas right now it's actually gone down a bit to 84%. And that kind of goes with what I've previously been talking about, where Google's kind of been smart enough to know that if you're typing in a certain keyword, you might mean other stuff. like if you basically type in, like if you're looking for, you know, how to lose weight, there's a lot of other terms that don't say how to lose weight that might kind of mean they're the same thing, like, you know, best way to drop 5 pounds or 10 pounds also kind of means how to lose weight, even though they don't contain the same keyword. So they're getting smarter, and they don't require as many sites to have the exact same keywords, but still having the keywords somewhere in the title still accounts for 84%, but it's interesting to see a decent drop from 96 down to 84. So that's you know, 12% less. So you see a trend where they're getting smarter when they analyze all that right there. But you also see, unlike a year and a half back, a lot of the sites on page 1 didn't have the keyword in their description. Less than a fourth did. Whereas right now, that seems to be a little more important, where it's 41%. So almost essentially double the sites that are ranked now have the keyword somewhere in their description. That's one of the bigger things that we've seen right here, is that the description tag definitely something you want to pay a little attention to. So don't ignore that right there. And yeah, that's the main stuff that we basically took away from that, but a lot of very interesting things. But what's really good to know is that, again, a lot of the stuff that you know, helped years ago still helps now. It's kind of nice to see that not a ton has necessarily changed, and that's part of one of like the things that we basically teach a lot in Webfire is you want to, you know, try to rank your sites based upon white hat stuff. You don't want to do the black hat stuff. You want to do the stuff that Google wants you to do, which again, to summarize, is have the content that people are looking for, have the keywords in your title tags and your descriptions, so people clearly know that, you know, hey, your site is relevant to what they're searching for, and then, you know, have, you know, just a handful of backlinks. You don't need a ton, but just a handful can help a ton, and that's all you really need right there. And then the extra stuff to kind of push you over the edge a bit is, you know, having the keywords in your header tags, having, you know, some of the keywords in your image alt tags. Little things like that can help you a decent amount as well. But also, as I said, make sure that the content you have reads well and isn't just, you know, filled with tons and tons of SEO type keywords that don't read well. So with that, if you guys have any questions on what I've gone over so far, you can feel free to ask now, and we'll try to answer your questions. So we'll see what you guys are asking here. Let's pull up the questions here. All right, as far as, so someone asked here, so there's not much new on the keyword density side. Little bit. I mean, rule of thumb, like I usually say, like, shoot for around 1%, but that's just like, it's a ballpark because there's a lot of exceptions. If you have a very long article or like a very long page, it can be a lot less. Like, you know, but if you mention it once in the title and like at least once in the content, that's pretty good and can usually get you around 1%. But if you go too much higher, it just tends to not read well. You know, there might be a handful of exceptions where there might be a keyword that is repeated a lot more and still reads well, but rule of thumb is make sure it reads well first and foremost. All right, there's a great question right here. All right, this person asked here, in this example, are these two different keywords? So the example he gave was tree of life versus tree life. And yes, those are two completely different keywords, because tree of life is, you know, those 3 words, whereas tree life is 2 words. Now, with that, if you're trying to rank, so to put the data into action, if your goal is to try to rank for tree of life, you want to have that exact phrase somewhere in your title and somewhere in your description, and at least used a little bit in the content and such, and probably in the URL of your site. So you want to say tree of life. Now, having said that, if someone does a search on Google for tree of life would be called a partial match. As is if you rank for tree life, someone that does a search for tree of life, you would still be a partial match. So a partial match is where like at least half the words that they're searching for show up, within your title or within your description and stuff right there. So that's pretty important. But if you try to aim for the exact phrase, you'll get a lot of partial matches and stuff too. Another example is if you try to rank for tree of life and someone does a search for gemstone tree of life, you're still a partial match because you contain part of the keyword that they're looking for. All right. All right, this person asked here, when Google calculates the keyword density, do they include words in the title? Well, I'm going to actually kind of answer you in a different way. It doesn't really matter how Google calculates it because we basically analyze this all on our own. And from what we can see, again, if you're around 1%, you're pretty good. But again, if you have a really long article, you can be a lot less than 1% and be fine. But you want to, in most cases, have it used somewhere in your title and at least once in the content, but don't overthink that. No, so they asked another question right here, so I think you're confused. So a title and a title tag are different. So when you compute the keyword density, they only look at the content on your page. So you might have a title, not necessarily a title tag, but you might have a title of a page and a bunch of content, and they'll analyze every text on that page. But if you have a meta tag description and a title tag in the code, that's not part of the page, but you still want to have that there. All right. This person said, can you show the description having a keyword? All right. So I think Hannah might be basically asking, what is a description? So I'll just pause my screen for a second, and I'll do a quick search on Google. All right, so right here I just searched for buy mopeds online, and this right here is usually a title tag. So the blue link is usually the title tag, and the description usually is immediately underneath it. So right here is the description. And we actually, on a prior call in the past 2 or 3 weeks, we actually showed you how to edit all that stuff, like how to edit the title tags and the description tags and all that. So make sure that you watch that. If you go to, in fact, I'll just do it right here. If you go to the training, go to the Wednesday calls. All right, that would be under Fix SEO with Webfire. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 5th one down right now. After this call gets up there, it would probably be the 6th one down. We actually show how to change the title tags and the description tags and all that. So definitely watch out that watch that one, because that's a very hands-on one right there. All right, let's see here. All right, this person asked here, what about using a subdomain as a keyword addition? It depends. So a subdomain, which is like, you know, yada 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 dot domain dot com, the yada 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 would be the subdomain. If you have a subdomain, it's basically treated like a different site. So what you want to do instead is if you're trying to rank for buy mopeds online, you would have like domain.com / buy mopeds online. And the page that you have on your site might have like a lot of pages, but the page that you have on your site would be / buy mopeds online. So that would mean that the keyword is in the URL of the page that you're trying to rank for right there. And on WordPress and stuff, and also on Blogger, if you use, again, the plugin we have for SEO stuff, it can automatically kind of do that stuff for you right there. All right. All right. And Sean, feel free if you see anything to mention. I'm just basically going through the questions one by one. I see a lot of them have already been answered.
Oh yeah, I've been typing full. Okay, so related to keywords, somebody asked, is medical bracelet and medical bracelets with an S, the plural version, the same keyword or not?
Technically, they would be different keywords. So an exact match literally is the exact match to the T, okay? But having said that, Google has gotten smarter, especially over the years, where they know that if you're looking to buy a medical bracelet, if someone has a keyword, in the title of medical bracelets with an S, they know that that site's probably a decent match, and that would be considered a partial keyword match. And as you see, in the search engine data that we had, a lot of the sites on page 1 had very, very, very high partial keyword matches. So and that accounts for stuff like that. So yeah. All right. Someone asked here if we make any changes to the software based on the analysis stuff. No and yes. I mean, yes and no. I mean, we always update the software. I mean, many times a year. A lot of the stuff is just kind of done in the background. But a lot, as you can kind of see, the stuff that we've been basically teaching for years and years and years is still working, and it probably will continue to work for a very, 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 very long time. And when we spot little trends like, hey, like what I just showed, is right now Google's looking a lot more at the description tags than what they were, a year and a half back. But the question is, do we change anything with WebFire because of that? In that case, no, because I've been teaching you guys that for years, and I've been telling you guys to do that for years and years and years. It's just even more important now. So, and that's one of the kind of cool things here, is that if you do the white hat stuff, if you follow the advice, you're doing what Google wants you to basically do. And that will tend to always work. Okay.
Okay, so here's a good question. What's better, exact match or broad match? Because that's like a trick question, obviously.
Okay, so they might be confusing what I mean by a keyword match. Because exact and broad match usually is a term used for the amount of times a keyword is searched. So if you've used like the keyword tool inside of WebFire, you'll see an exact match number and a broad one. What the difference in that means is, let's say, and I'm just again making this up, let's say the search, or let's say the keyword that you analyzed is buy mopeds. Okay, the exact search count, so the exact match search count means the number of times someone each month specifically searched that exact phrase and only that exact phrase. So buy mopeds. If they say buy mopeds online, that is not an exact match. It's specifically only buy mopeds. Whereas a broad match is the number of times someone searched that word with maybe some extra words before and or after it. So buy mopeds online would be a broad, or where to buy mopeds online would be a broad match. So the broad search count will always be higher than the exact one, because it just includes extra words and stuff. So in terms of like what gives you an easier chance, or what you should base basically your traffic on, I always tend to look more at the exact. But as long as you look at the same basis, like if you compare all the broads versus all the exacts, that will give you an idea. But I tend to look at the exact match to see, hey, is this keyword, if I target it, are there a decent amount of people searching for that exact term right there? And the broad one just gives you an idea of how large the market as a whole might be right there. All right, here's a question right here. So they're basically asking for, like, what is an H tag or a heading tag? So that's explained on some of the SEO calls that we've done. And we also have, we have the tools to fix all that, and we have the plugins to help with all that too. But basically, it's code that goes in the HTML, or basically the code part of your site, that specifies what word or words are like a headline or like a headline. So on the page itself, you might have actual headlines and headlines that might be in bold and stuff. So you won't see it say like H1 in the actual text, but you'll see it say that in the code. So it's a way to help Google basically say, hey, this is like a headline or like a headline, because it helps them kind of know what they should rank you for. So that's all stuff that would be basically in the code part, but we have the tools to help with that. All right. And yes, as far as backlinks go, yes, you don't just want like a bunch of backlinks, you want quality backlinks. And yes, there's a lot of, it's very awesome if you were to get one backlink from like a news site or a very authoritative site. That's awesome and great. But even if you get like basically backlinks from your own videos or your own articles, that can help, as long as they're relevant to what you're posting to. So what Google does not want is, they don't want you to have 1,000 backlinks where almost all the backlinks don't come from like relevant sites. So they'd much rather have like 2 backlinks from relevant sites than 1,000 backlinks from like spam type sites.
Okay, Brian, here's a really good question for you. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. If you're trying to rank yourdomain.com, isn't www.yourdomain.com a different site, because www. is a subdomain?
No. So what they're basically asking is, it goes back to like, what is a subdomain? So a subdomain is where you have basically a word prior to your main domain. Like it could be blog.brian.com versus like www.brian.com. So if you go to now I don't actually go to the site because this is not mine or anything, but if you were to go to a site like, let's say, brian.com or google.com or anything like that, it automatically is the www. So it's the same thing. But if you have, if you were to basically type in a different word, like let's say blog.brian.com or blog.google.com or something along that, that's just called a subdomain. So it's treated like a different site. So it's a completely different site. So in the vast majority of cases, the www is the same thing as not having that there. So hopefully that kind of answers it there. There's a few different exceptions to that, but that's the easier answer. And yes, this person asked, is the speed on mobile important? Yes, there's a lot of other data that we also looked at and stuff that's just like a ton of data dumped. And yeah, the speed of your site, and if it's mobile friendly and all that, makes a major difference, especially when it comes to like if you rank on the mobile side, because how you rank on mobile is different than how you might rank from like a desktop. Google especially says, hey, well, if you're not really a mobile friendly site, if you don't load fast, if you don't look good on a mobile phone, they're less likely to rank you when someone's searching from a mobile phone. Okay. And don't worry too. So this person says, what if they're completely optimized but poor technical performance? It depends. If your site loads fine, even from like a slower like internet, you're probably fine. If it tends to load really slow, you're probably not fine. And you should get that looked at and see why that might be. It could be that your host is really slow. It could also be that like maybe you have like a really large video or a really large, you know, image that takes really long to load. Yeah, all right. All right.
Good. Here's a good question. Mostly because it allows me to give a really long answer. So somebody's asking if you want to add a blog to a WordPress site, and WordPress sites are generally blogs anyway, but if you want to add a blog to a site, any site, Shopify site, whatever, do you have to rank the blog separately? And this is one of the things that people get really confused on, is you tend to think of like, oh, I want my site to rank high in Google. And you do, but what you really want is you want pages on your site to rank high in Google, right? Okay, so you tend to think of your site as Brian.com, right? And I want Brian.com to rank #1 for hundreds of keywords. But what you really have is Brian.com, and then you have a bunch of pages. You have Brian.com/iPhone 10 review, or Brian.com/interior decorating. Okay, whatever. Now these are obviously not, you know, keywords for Brian, right? But understand that every web page on your site gets indexed by Google. That's one of the reasons why you actually want to use the sitemap tool in WebFire to make sure that that happens. And all of those pages are individually considered by Google as to where they're going to rank in all of its huge directory of sites. So for example, if you go to sites that have a lot of ranking pages like Wikipedia, right? It isn't that when Wikipedia ranks high that the homepage of Wikipedia shows up every time you do a search, right? But if you search something historical, for example, or something geographical, Wikipedia is going to rank really high because Google knows, hey, has lots of good info, it's got good keyword density, it's related, it's got a lot of backlinks, we're going to rank it near the top, right? But it doesn't rank Wikipedia.com, it ranks Wikipedia.com/Queen Victoria, because somebody searched for Queen Victoria. It loads that specific web page. So if you have a blog, you're trying to rank the blog pages, not the blog itself, but all the individual pages that your blog would have about specific topics. So everybody understand that, because we're always talking about ranking sites, but really it's the pages. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody.
Yep.
Rebecca asked, do you need a new sitemap every time you add something? No, because the sitemap automatically updates if you use our system.
Yep. And
you don't have to go in and be like, I added another page. It just automatically keeps track of that.
All right.
Go ahead, Brian, because we're running out of time.
Yep. That's what I was about to say. I'll actually answer a couple more questions, but first, if you want a chance to win $100 live, which we'll do essentially drawing in a minute or two right here, you have to go to getwebfire.com/FB group. That will forward to the free Facebook group page right there. Make sure to join if you're not already a member. It's free, so you just have to click join right there. Sharon will approve you within a minute, and you'll see a message from her within the past hour. So make sure you go to the right one. It'll say it's from past hour, where she's asking in the post what you thought of today's call. If you leave a comment, so you just would click on the comment, leave any comment you want on what you thought or any suggestions for future calls or anything like that. We'll pick a random winner through a random drawing that you'll see live in just about a minute or two's time. So again, go to getwebfire.com/FB group, leave a comment within the post from Sharon right there asking what you thought of today's call, and I'll pick a random winner in about a minute or two's time. And with that, there's a question that I saw here where, let's see if they clarified it, because I want to make sure I'm answering the right one. I don't think it was clarified. Okay, so what they basically asked, and I'm guessing what you mean here, is you said that you're, let's see, where was this? All right. They said that the web fire score for the keyword that they were looking to rank for dropped from 80 to 49. But I have to first know, like, what score are you referring to? Are you referring to the keyword score? Are you referring to the SEO optimization score in the analysis tool, or what? I'm assuming you're basing this on the optimization score on your site. If your site has changed and it's not as optimized, you need to optimize it more. So that means if you have a really low score, that means you probably don't have the keyword in your title tag. You probably don't have it in your description. You know, a lot of things like that. So you'd have to fix that. And if you go to one of our prior calls, which is just in the last few weeks, we've done one called, like, I think, SEO tips. And also we did the walkthrough of how to change all that stuff. It will walk you through exactly what to do and how to fix all that stuff right there. If you're referring to how easy or hard it would be to rank for a keyword, like if you're referring to the score that the keyword tool inside of Webfire gives, that typically won't change much. I mean, it's a live tool, so the search results, you know, might change from week to week or month to month, or year to year. But you know, typically the keywords, you know, there tends not to be a lot more sites that like pop up over time. Occasionally, the competitiveness of a keyword can change as more sites try to rank for it. But first, make sure that the keywords that you're looking at are the exact same that you previously looked at, to make sure the scores aren't just different because you typed in a slightly different keyword. But in that case, you just pick a keyword that's maybe easier to rank for. So don't overthink that part either right there. Yep. All right, and this person's asking for the URL for the Facebook group. It should be right on the screen that you should see. It's just getwebfire.com/FB group. And Sharon can put that link in the chat for you as well. All right, cool. I think we answered pretty much all the questions either in the chat or live here. So let's give some money away. So I'm gonna just pause the screen for a second. As I pull this up right here. All right, I'm just gonna refresh the group page. All right, it's been really slow on the refresh. Let's try that again. There we go. All right. So right here, here's that group page right there. You scroll down here, you'll see a post from Sharon less than one hour ago, asking what you thought of today's call. And you just click on the comment and you'll leave a comment right there. You see there's a lot of them already right here. I'll give you guys maybe 10 more seconds to leave a comment. Of course, we always appreciate likes and shares and all that too. But if you leave a comment, we'll pick a random winner in about 10 seconds. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. All right, I see a couple took it, couple posted in the wrong area. All right, so 2 posted in the wrong one, and see, 53 here, so 55 in total. All right, so 55 in total. Someone is currently typing. I'll give you like 5 seconds to wrap that up if that's you typing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so 2 plus 54. All right, so 56. So there's 56 in total. What I'll do to make it completely random and fair, you guys can see us live. 1 to 56. Enter the number here. Sean, what do you think the winner will be? We'll see how.
26.
26. All right, I'll click generate. 51. Way off. All right.
Much easier for you, though.
Yes, 51. I said there was 54. All right, so 54, 53, 52, 51. Felix Ekrabetzi, probably saying your name wrong. If this is you and you look like the shadow there, you have 37 friends and you live in London, congratulations, you are $100 richer, or you will be as soon as you post up your PayPal info to Sharon in the chat. So again, congratulations to Felix Ekrabetzi, or something along those lines right there. Congratulations, you are $100 richer, but again, make sure to post up your PayPal email to Sharon in the chat right now, and she'll send it over to you shortly this afternoon, or right in the next few moments as soon as you post that up. So, and again, to the rest of you, thanks for all of you for joining us on this call. If you have any other questions, or we accidentally missed any, I don't think we did, but if by chance we did, or if you have any other questions that pop up later, you can always write us at support@webfire.com or inside the members area. You can just go to the support tab up here, click that, and you can use our help desk right there to ask any other questions that you might have. So with that, thanks for all your time, and I hope to see you next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. And again, let us know if you have any questions or any topics that are of interest to you. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. And again, we'll see you next week at Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So thanks much, and talk to you guys later. Bye.